Welcome to Blessed and Boys, a podcast whose Audi is currently experiencing reintegration sickness. I'm one Cowboys fan, one fan of that win. I'm here to give a few takes, no game recaps this week, some draft previews, and maybe the occasional Seinfeld reference. As you may have noticed, I am flying solo this evening. My colleague, co-host extraordinaire, Paul, is currently fighting off some sort of sickness. I didn't inquire as to too much detail, but I know him and his family are a little bit under the weather right now, so I just want to give them a shout out, wish them well. So I'll be taking you through tonight's show solo. Might be a little bit of a shorter show, but we'll see what we got here. But we'll kick things off like we usually do with the patron saint and cowboy. This week, the draft's still upcoming, and we have some recent retirement news, so we will be honoring retiring offensive linemen drafted by our team. So this week, our patron saint is Teron Armstead, drafted in the third round of the 2013 draft by the Saints out of Arkansas Pine Bluff. He spent 9 seasons with the Saints, earning 3 Pro Bowl nods and a second-team All-Pro designation in 2018. In 2022, he joined the Dolphins for what would be 3 years, adding 2 more Pro Bowls to his resume. He announced his retirement earlier this month, April 5th, after 12 seasons in the NFL, making 131 starts and finishing his career with 3 fumble recoveries. Our patron Cowboy this week is none other than Tyron Smith, who was drafted 9th overall by the Cowboys out of USC in the illustrious 2011 draft, one of the greatest drafts we've ever seen, really. Just the talent from top to bottom outside of the quarterbacks that were drafted in that class. Tyron would quickly become one of the NFL's premier offensive linemen. He started his rookie season at right tackle before moving over to the left side, and he would play there for the Cowboys. He would play for the Cowboys for 13 total seasons, making 161 starts, earning 8 Pro Bowls, 2 first-team All-Pro, 3 second-team All-Pro. I think he was kind of hampered in his ability to make the All-Pro team by some of the other tackles that he played, his contemporaries, if you will. Last season, he started 10 games for the Jets. I'm sad to see him go. He was one of the you just knew when he was healthy and playing that he was going to have that left side locked up, although he did, over the back half of his career, start to have health issues. You never really knew what his availability was going to be from week to week. But I'm not sure if he'll make the Hall of Fame. Just like I said, he's got make him up a little short on the All-Pro numbers just based on the other tackles that he was playing alongside. But certainly hope he does. But we want to say happy trails to both Tyron Smith and Teron Armstead. Now, I'm Brendan the Cowboys fan. Izzy, tell him what time it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you lift that.
Mr. Vanderbilt, please.
It's go time.
This one's for you, Pop. It's go time.
It's go time.
You've been married 3 times.
That's it! It's go time!
It's go time.
All right, a few housekeeping items. If you'd like to contact the show, you can do so via email at blessedemboys, BOYZ, @gmail.com. We're still on Twitter. No new followers that I've seen this week. The handle is bless_dem_boys. You can also follow my co-host, Paul Elliott, at PaulElliott_316, PaulElliott_316, and I, of course, am at Ball from Grace. The show's also on Blue Sky. I want to give a shout out to the fellows from Immaculate Grid, or Sports Reference, who joined Paul last week. We had that show out on Tuesday. Really good information. Even got some sneak peeks of a few new features, a few possible new categories that they might be adding. So it was nice interview, good information. So make sure you check that out. We are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So please be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review. We appreciate any and all feedback. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell the bots. Tell Bill Belichick. Now, we'll get to the football in a second, but before we do that, we do pride ourselves on being able to discuss other things.
But enough about fish. I can discuss other things, you know.
Won't have as much to talk about here as you listeners may know. I'm not as much of a movie connoisseur as Paul, so going to be a pretty short uh, session here. I did finish up Severance season 2. I'm looking forward to having Paul back on the show next week so we can talk about that, because the uh, just really ran through season 2 and both seasons were great. I think Paul's right that they nailed both of the finales. Looking forward to season 3. Hopefully that's not too far off. I'm kind of hoping that they stick to like maybe 3 seasons, just because based on the world building that they've done and where things have gone currently, I don't want them to stretch themselves too far. I think uh, sometimes shows end up doing it. That the one that comes to mind is the Good Place, where it just kept going on, and uh, felt like it could have been a little tighter if they had just stuck to a certain number of seasons. So, kind of hoping that um, the Severance ends up just not going on too long and not stretching out. I'll need to figure out something else to watch. I'm thinking about checking out. I'm debating between going to do a full Justified rewatch, or maybe checking out the White Lotus and getting on that bandwagon while they're in the off season, catching up on those. But we'll see. I also watched Wheel of Time episode 7. I would say this is probably the one of the weaker episodes of the season, not because it was bad per se, but I just think this season's been so strong that it's just kind of not as good in comparison. I also think we got the Battle of the Two Rivers, which Wheel of Time readers I'm sure will know what I'm talking about from book 4, which I think they mostly did a good job of that. Given I think they had to build it up really quickly, and so you're not able to get as much of an emotional payoff as you'd like, just based on how I think time constraints they had for this. But I think they did a pretty good job, and like I said, the season's still been fantastic. Looking forward to the season finale will air tomorrow night. Probably won't be able to watch it until Friday night though, so hoping it's a good one. Uh, Also been watching the Rangers. They are currently up 3-1 on the Angels, so trying to continue to build on that divisional lead. I know the Astros lost already tonight, so um, the offense is taking a little while to get going, but the pitching's been good, just not something that I'm used to as a Rangers fan. So kind of living in a bizarro world here, or maybe the opposite. Uh, Watching the Rangers win games with pitching instead of just trying to pummel people into submission and winning games 10-9. So that's been fun. Hopefully they can hold on to this game. I know they got Patrick Corbin pitching tonight, so the fact that they've only given up 1 run is a minor miracle right now. And then I also listened to the new Turnpike Troubadours album came out last Friday. Took a little while to get going. I think the first few songs were a little bit kind of on par with their last album, which was probably their weakest album to date. But once you hit Be Here, I think the album really, finds its stride there, and just a really really good album. It's nice to see. I think I was texting one of my friends who's also a big Turnpike fan. We both kind of agreed that the last album was a get the we're back rust off, because they had the hiatus where they went off for a few years. The lead singer kind of said, I quit. Last couple years ago, they released the new album Cat in the Rain, which was just okay, pretty flat, nothing, no real great songs, a couple of good ones, but this one I feel like they're back and putting out music that really matches what they've done before. So glad to see them get back on track. All right, now that we've taken care of the non-sports items or non-football items, we can get into some news and notes. Really, once again, disappointed that Paul is not here, because I'd love to hear his thoughts on the car situation, because apparently he went to Paris and must have fallen. I don't know if he tripped at the Louvre, if he fell off the Eiffel Tower, what happened there, but he is apparently injured his shoulder and may have to have surgery. I saw that. I don't know if it's common to do physicals before you restructure a contract. You would think that would be something that teams would go into or look into, but I guess you kind of assume that if there was no major fall, like I said, if he didn't fall off the Eiffel Tower or there wasn't anything there, like why would you think that he had injured himself? But they didn't do a physical before they restructured his contract, so now that appears to be a disaster. They're gonna have to put the car in the shop, as we would say here. Um, just kind of a mess. I'd really, really like to see. I know Paul's going to be more plugged into the Saint situation. I wonder if this changes how they look at quarterbacks now. I don't know if it really should. If you're trying to plan long term, unless you were if Loomis was looking to go into this season, win now. We're trying to build for the here and now. Then this definitely changes your draft plans. If you were looking long term, which I would assume you would be doing with Kellen Moore, I don't know that would necessarily be the case. I still think if there's a guy that you like at quarterback, you take him. If not, you just kind of look at what are your weaknesses. Where do you feel good about? What positions do you feel good about drafting there? For the Cowboys, we had as we mentioned in the opener, the patron Cowboy Tyron Smith retired. The other big, I don't know if I'd call it big, bit of news was Stephen Jones spoke to the media. He said, based on the way the board is falling, they're not really looking to move up. If anything, they would be looking to move down, which really, is kind of been the team's MO for the better part of the recent history. I think the last time they traded up was to get Morris Claiborne at 6. That didn't work out particularly well. I think the one player I would be okay with them trading up to go and get would be Travis Hunter. As part of the non-Cowboys news, he did mention that if a team drafts him and won't let him play both ways, and he's just going to walk away. I'm hoping that scares some teams away. I don't think it will. I think most teams will probably let him play at least some both ways. I don't know if they'll let him go full time. Hopefully, I'm kind of hoping that he gets pushed down boards a little, and then the Cowboys can trade up to take him. He's the only player that I would really be interested in the Cowboys trading up for. I saw Paul sent me a mock drafted or a mock first round, I guess we would say, from Ben Solak, where he had the Cowboys trading up with the Saints to go and get Ashton Genty, which, if I don't like the Cowboys drafting Genty at 12, I'm certainly not going to want them to trade up to go and get him. And then the Saints taking Shadur at 12. I told him, he said this would be fun. I said, fun for whom? It certainly wouldn't be fun for me. He said it would be fun for the planned live stream, knock on wood. No big announcements yet. We're going to test it and see what we can do. But it would be fun if we're planning to record live on during the draft next Thursday. The other big bit of news coming out of Miami, Jalen Ramsey is going to be released. I think as with any fan base, I'm sure Cowboys fans were all, should we add this guy? But I think the scores that I've seen given, he's just not the same player that he used to be. One of the scoring, I can't remember who it's run by the coach A, who's one of the best defensive scheme guys. I love to read all his stuff and look at sort of his breakdowns of defenses. But his analysis group graded him pretty poorly recently, and so I just don't see any reason to get involved there. You already got Trayvon Diggs, who's I guess a bit mercurial would be the best way to put it. He's I don't think you want to go and add Jalen Ramsey, who's not worth the headache at this point. I would think so. It's going to be going to be a no from me, dog, in the words of the great Randy Jackson. That's about all I've got. I know there's still just continues to be. We're in uh, rumor season, so just trying to uh, just been trying to plug along and listen to the Cowboys news that has been sounded reasonable. Nothing, not trying not to get too high or too low here. We're just trying to get through with this draft cycle. I know Paul feels about the same way as me. Let's just get to the draft and get across the finish line here. But while we're at it, I do think that we can go and watch the Watchers.
I'm watching the Watchers, Jerry. Uh-oh.
All right, so I wanted to go through two mock drafts. The first one I'll start with is Mel Kiper, mainly because Mel has had the Cowboys drafting Omari and Hampton basically throughout the process. That's been who he's had going to them pretty much the whole way through. He's updated that now to Matthew Golden, who's starting to be. We mentioned it. We've seen a lot of momentum building toward this. Golden visited the Cowboys last Thursday, I believe. So we're seeing a lot of momentum here, and I wonder if Mel's starting to hear some stuff that sort of shifted in this way. So he's got the Cowboys drafting Matthew Golden at 12. He also has, or I guess this is done in tandem with Field Yates. Field Yates has the Saints at 9 taking Shadur Sanders, which again, I don't know if that there's he's factoring in the Carr's injury, but Shadur seems like someone that the Saints are certainly interested in. So he's got the Saints going there. Let's see if they go any further. Round 2, he has the Saints taking Azariah Thomas, the cornerback from or Azariah Thomas, the cornerback out of Florida State. And then he has the Cowboys at 44 taking Siobhan Ravel, the cornerback out of East Carolina. I know this is a guy that the Locked On Cowboys got, I think especially Marcus Mosher was a pretty big fan of. He's coming off a torn ACL, so that's the big question. He's injured, but he's a really talented player. Okay with that pick, I think. And then anything else here? Let's see. Yates has the Saints taking Jordan Birch, edge out of Oregon, at pick 71. And Trey Harris, the wide receiver from Ole Miss, at 93. Let's see if they have anything else for the Cowboys here. Golden, Ravel. 76, they've got him taking Dylan Sampson, the running back out of Tennessee. And that's the thing that I've talked about with this running back class. It's so deep that the problem of taking a running back at 12 isn't necessarily just the pick. I don't just taking a running back at 12. It's the fact that you're missing out on guys at 12 that you're not going to be able to, like, there's no comparable wide receiver that you're going to be able to get down at 44. So it's not really, it's the value pick, but it's also the opportunity cost of using that pick on a running back. Now, the second mock draft that I wanted to talk about, and I'll just cover it briefly because I lost access here. The Athletics' Dane Brugler also had a full 7-round mock draft. The main takeaway here, I think, is that he has the Cowboys selecting in the first round also Matthew Golden. He has the Saints taking Teteroa McMillan at number 9. So I think that's one of the more surprising things I've seen. I know that the Saints are probably looking for a wide receiver, given the fact that I think they lost MVS. I don't think they brought him back. I need Paul to keep me honest. Let me verify that. But they have Chris Olave has been struggling with concussions, so that's a big question that they have. Oh yes, MVS signed with the Seahawks during the offseason, so they lost him. They also had another Raheed Shaheed, I think, tore his ACL, so he missed the end of the season. So wouldn't be surprised if the Saints go wide receiver there. So they took Ted off the board, which I think pushed Golden down to the Cowboys. Always really like seeing Dane's picks because he's usually really plugged in with the Cowboys. He started. I remember I actually knew Dane before he kind of hit the larger media market because he was working for the Cowboys doing their draft show, and he was always on and always great insights when he's talking about players, knows his stuff. He was also on. He's also been on the Athletic Football Show's podcast recently, so if you get a chance, go and check those out. The other pick that I remember the Cowboys taking, or what Dane had the Cowboys doing, is in the 7th round. He actually has them taking Hayden Connor out of the University of Texas, which I love because he spells his last name correctly, as I would say, with the CON and ER, no O, no S, no OR, and went to the University of Texas. So opportunity for me to get a Connor jersey that it actually works this time. We haven't been able to get James Conner onto the team. Snoop Connor didn't make the cut during the preseason, so 7th round pick for a guard, maybe a depth piece if he's able to play his way onto the roster in camp. But fingers crossed that this actually happens. I would be very, very happy. All right. Don't have too much more to add here. I think to close it out, I will end the show by it seems appropriate. We had the Immaculate Grid guys come on this week, so I think I'll close out the show by playing an Immaculate Grid live on air. All right, I think I'm just going to end up playing today's grid. That is grid number 637 if you want to play along at home. We've got across the top, we got the Colts, the Saints, and 10,000 plus yards passing. And then down the left side, we've got the Packers, the Falcons, and the Raiders. I will say the left column is what we call the Andre Rison column because he played for all 4 of those teams: the Colts, Packers, Falcons, and Raiders. We'll see how I want to do this, how I want to use. I'm sure I'll use them somewhere. Let's start with the Saints and the Packers. I know this will do my co-hosts, maybe make my co-host feel a little better at home if he's listening. I want to put in Danny Waffle. Danny Waffle earns a score of 0.2%, so off to a good start here. We got Saints, Falcons, and Falcons 10,000 plus yards passing career. So I think there's 2 options here. We've got Seinfeld connection Bobby Hebert, who played for both the Saints and the Falcons and also has 10,000 plus yards passing for his career. And then we've also got Billy Joe Tolliver, who played for the Saints and the Falcons and has 10,000 plus yards passing for his career. It's really a question of where we want to put him. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put Billy Joe Tolliver into Saints Falcons. Let's see how that goes. 2%, not too bad. And now we will use the Seinfeld connection Bobby Hebert for Falcons 10,000 yards passing. All right. Ooh, 0.5%. Pretty happy with that. All right. Okay, Packers 10,000 yards passing. This is the guy that I like to use I believe he is also a Jets Super Bowl winner. The Babe. He is called the Babe. That would be none other than Babe Perilli. Very, very Italian name here. His first name is actually Vito, so even more Italian. So he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, and 1-time Super Bowl champ, which was with the Jets, I'm pretty sure, in 1968. Is that the year the Jets won the Super Bowl? Jets, 1960. Yes, 68. Okay, so we'll in the Packers' 10,000 plus yards passing for career, we'll use Babe Perilli. All right, 0.1%. All right, I'll take that. All right, Saints and Raiders we'll just go with my go-to guy here. We're going to go with DJ Swearinger. DJ Swearinger, 0.1%. All right, we're off to a good start here. Raiders' 10,000 plus yards passing career. Oh, man, this is a good one. We've got Rodney Peete. Does Rodney Peete play for the... I don't know. I'm not going to risk that. I'm going to go with a former Cowboy legend, former Panther legend, former Cardinal legend, former Bronco legend, Stevie B, Steve Berline, 0.3%. All right, now all we've got left here is the Colts column, the Andre Rison column, as we called it. Okay. So Colts, Falcons. You got Chris Chandler there. I can't think of anybody else right off the top of my head. So Colts, Packers. There's is it Don or Doug Metchkowski? Don Metchkowski. He played for the Colts and the Packers. All right, 6%. Not too bad. Still single digits. We'll take it. Last two. Colts and Falcons. And Colts and Raiders. Okay. Let's just close this out. Nice and simple. Colts, Falcons, we're going to go Chris Chandler, 2%. Better than expected. We'll close this out. Mr. Bad Moon, Andre Rison. Ooh, 0.9%. Not bad. Rarity score of 12%. I'll take that. Anything below 15, I think, is a pretty good score. So we'll close that out. That'll close us out for the week. Like I said, we're going to try to go live on draft night, hopefully on YouTube. If not, we'll just record our reactions live here on the podcast and release them Friday morning. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure that you check out last Tuesday's show. Paul speaking with the Immaculate Grid guys, or the Sports Reference fellas. And we will see you next Thursday. Until then, happy football.